Hi, this is Zoe Bermant from Social Media. I'm live today with Yair Cohen from Cohen Davis Solicitors in London. And I've invited Yair here today to talk to us about the legalities of social media, particularly also internet reputation management. I think Yair could give a better introduction to himself than I can, with lots of legal words thrown in. And we're going to have a little chat about a couple of topics I'm passionate about, and see where it leads us. And hopefully we might do some more sessions like this. So if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them into the comments. But yeah, thank you for joining me today.
It's my absolute pleasure. No complexities. Everything is very, very simple and straightforward. No legal jargon promised. Uh, our job as lawyers is in social media and internet law is to simplify matters for people, to make it really, really easy and simple to understand and to implement.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest challenge that most people face when it comes to internet and social media? Is it lack of knowledge, or a sense of it doesn't really matter? Nothing's going to hurt me, so I can just do what I want.
So let me surprise you. It's none of the above. It's
Wow.
the uncertainty, and it is sometimes the lack of awareness about the degree of uncertainty that exists on the internet. So things can go for you really, really well, and everything is fantastic, and sales are great, and everything is going really well. And suddenly, out of the blue, something hits you or hits your organization, or something happened, or someone does something, and you're like, what do I do now? Because my whole structure seemed to be falling apart. And one of the things, of course, with the internet is that it doesn't take a great deal of force to create an impact. So you could have an individual or a couple of people or a small group of people, and they could um, affect a change and affect um, all sorts of things that could happen to your organization on the internet. Uh, and you might not even be aware who you are, where they are, where they're doing this, why they're doing this. So it is that degree of uncertainty that I would say is the most challenging aspect of the internet for businesses.
So what do businesses, small and big, what do they need to be thinking about when it comes to understanding more and dealing with this uncertainty? Like, I know this is a very broad topic, but let's maybe break it down and take like one or two examples. Like recently, Cristiano Ronaldo has been all over the internet. I don't know if you've seen the clip. He moved some, I'm not even going to say the name because I don't want to get in trouble, but he moved some branded bottles from one side of the screen to another, and then picked up a bottle of water and said, drink water. I've seen some very clever marketing out there hitting the internet, people talking about it, but what is legal and what isn't legal?
So of course, it goes towards the point that I just made, the uncertainty. So Ronaldo managed to hit a big brand that, and nobody expected that. Nobody had any idea what was coming. You know what? Probably Ronaldo didn't expect. He didn't plan it, and it just something that happened. It just shows you that degree of uncertainty that exists. So the first thing to do, of course, is to educate yourself. Join a podcast such as the one we're just having, and educate yourself and learn about it. Make it your business to understand the internet, understand the back end of the internet, the marketing, and speak to people who work and operate within this area. Um, and they can teach you something maybe about what to expect. Um, so what to do and what not to do. Um, um, you can there's something about words, there's something about words that once you say something, you cannot take it back. So if in doubt, don't say it. If in doubt, say it tomorrow, say it the next day, say it in a couple of hours time. But if in doubt, don't be impulsive. You have to be really, really careful about those great ideas and yeah, let's just go and do it. And the next thing that happens is you might be breaching somebody else's maybe copyright or intellect or other intellectual property rights, and you could get yourself and your organization into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. So being specific with this example, for example, obviously there's Coca-Cola scrambling around, or I didn't say, I was going to say,
It's
I said I was
okay.
going to say the
Well,
brand, but
it's
everybody
okay to
knows.
mention the name. It's
Everybody
absolutely fine.
knows. But, they're scrambling around to deal with their reputation management, while everybody else is jumping on the bandwagon and using it to create memes or funny videos. I think IKEA came out with a clear bottle that they've renamed the Cristiano. It's all cool and it's funny. And we've become a society of socializing everything and sharing without thinking. But can we do that? Are we allowed as individuals or as a company to take the screenshot or the video that's put online, use it and put it out to as our own marketing content?
I will answer this question, but I've got to say that this is what is so great about companies such as Coca-Cola, because they take this what is perceived to be too many as a negative event, and they turn the whole thing into something very positive for them, because everybody's love talking. Okay, everybody's talking Coca-Cola, and people make it. You can take the entire argument now and saying, oh, that has tarnished the brand. But at the same time, people are talking about the brand. So if you talk about Coca-Cola, why not talk about Zero? Why not talk about, Coca-Cola water, or whatever the next thing they're going to be making? So it just shows you how clever those people are. By being able to turn even a negative event very quickly into something that actually serves their own brand. So the answer to your question, in a way, all the handling and dealing with the Coca-Cola thing, it serves Coca-Cola pretty well. So they are unlikely to go after anyone and say, oh, you mentioned Coca-Cola, or you created a bottle, or this and that and the other, because it serves their brand. But from a legal perspective, it is okay. Under most laws, the different countries have different laws, but usually the rule would be that it is okay to create a comedy, to create something which is fun, to report an event. It's okay to report it. It is okay to use it for a parody, for to create a parody. So we all need to relax a little bit about it. What is not okay is to use the brand and try to create a confusion in the market, where people kind of piggyback on somebody else's brand, or create a confusion within consumers that your brand is actually their brand, or their brand is your brand. This is where things get a little bit trickier.
So there's like two brands here, because there's the Coca-Cola issue and then there's Cristiano Ronaldo. So anyone using that footage, if they make it seem like he's endorsing their product
Yeah.
or doing, then that's problematic, correct?
Indeed. So that's a different area, which is endorsement. Now, endorsement has become a big deal lately, and particularly by influencers who sometimes endorse products without acknowledging the fact that they are commercially endorsing that product. So they will be receiving remuneration for the endorsement, but not disclosing it
Mm-hmm.
to the viewers. And there has been a crackdown in many states in the United States, for example, against this type of practice. So influencers could actually be prosecuted for not disclosing the fact that they are being paid for a brand, and sort of kind of pretending, oh, I'm wearing this lovely branded shirt just because I like it, but not disclosing the fact that they are being paid for it. From the side of the brand, of course, brands are extremely jealous to protect their integrity. So there are two things at least that they are interested in. The first is to promote their own brand, and the second is to make sure that the brand is not being tarnished by somebody else. So in association with a brand, with an individual, or association with a brand with another brand, without the consent of the owners of the brand, could actually get you in trouble.
I guess there's two sides also of that argument, like, because there are also consumers who leave reviews on things. I, as a person, I might go and write something about a restaurant I ate in last night and say it was great. But when it's not great and you write about it on social media, then you're opening yourself up to a legal problem. Is that correct?
Of course, online reviews are a completely different sort of area, which is extremely engaging for all type of businesses, and the businesses who tend to suffer the most are the small to medium sized businesses who rely on the internet to get the business in. And those organizations will be very carefully monitoring, or should be monitoring, what is being said about them on the internet, on online reviews, Facebook, Google, and all sorts. Now, the problem with online reviews quite often is that they are fake. We don't know. We really don't know what percentage of online reviews are fake, but we estimate there's between 50, between 45 to 55% might be fake, and there is research to support this. One from Amazon, and there are other research as well. Now, when we talk about fake reviews, so the next question, okay, who's faking the review? And quite often you will find online reviews by people who purport to be customers, but things might not add up, and you're thinking, I never heard of this person. That doesn't resemble any real customer. And the answer might be either with your competitors, who might be putting out negative reviews. Sometimes it almost on a commercial basis, so it could be a great volume. They could be disgruntled employees, or people that you might have fallen out with, and they could be all sorts of other people who have a reason to. Sometimes it is the review websites themselves who create fake online reviews about businesses that are listed on the website, because it drives traffic. So you have to be very careful. And in our experience, we deal a lot with online reviews. And our experience is that where a client comes to us and say, these are fake reviews, they tend to know what they're talking about. People know the business, and they know. Yeah.
Do they have a legal grounds? Is there something they can do? What can they do?
Yes, they can do, depending, of course, where the business is located. In many cases, if you don't know who has been posting the review, there is a fairly straightforward process that we would follow. We will go to court. We will obtain a disclosure order. If there is a large number of negative online reviews, we can bundle them all up together and go to court and say, there are 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or 50 online reviews that we believe are fake and they are defamatory. and then the court will issue a disclosure order and say Google or Facebook will then supply you with information about those users. And what might happen in many cases is that the information is pretty much meaningless because those users don't really exist, or they have given fake addresses or fake email addresses, and then we just complete the process by having
Getting
a
it shut
default
down.
judgment against them and having the reviews removed. So that would be a long process. The shorter process is that we will simply write to Facebook or Google or whoever it might be, and convince them to get rid of that online review.
I had a client, an interesting client, that every few weeks a new Facebook page would pop up selling their product. It was a product that wasn't even in existence yet, and they were selling it at a third of the price, and taking payments for something that didn't exist yet. And it was a process. You had to go in, report the pages to Facebook, wait for Facebook to do the reviews. But it's obviously traceable through to somewhere, because if someone's taking payments for something, I mean, you would think that they'd have legal grounds to subpoena, to go after the companies that were faking their product and taking it's fraud. At the end of the day, that was pure fraud. So, and it was causing them reputational damage, because people were contacting them and saying, I bought the
Where is my
machine.
money? Yeah,
Where's my
yeah. Where is
machine?
my good? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So,
So this is another reputational risk that companies might be facing. Yes, you're gonna nip those things in the bud. So there is a process, and it doesn't necessarily cost a lot of money. It is quite often it is manageable financially, and get to the root of the matter. Go independently, obtain those disclosure orders, go after those people, and put an end to this. You know what? Even if you're unable perhaps to find out who they are straight away, and you don't want to take things any further, at least you send a very clear message to those people. Look, I'm gonna do what it takes to identify you and hold you to account. And the consequence of this is that they nearly always leave you alone. They will go to the next victim, unfortunately, but they will leave you alone because they can see that you are doing something about it. It is very important to not just do something about it, but also to send the message that I'm not just going to sit back and take it. I'm going to be proactive about it, and I'm going to do something about it. And like any other thieves, they will go to the next house, perhaps that hasn't got the alarm system, that hasn't got the cameras. Maybe they find a door open, they will go in, but they will leave you alone because you are protected much better than the rest of the neighborhood.
So this is a question directly, related to your services. I think people are afraid of legal action. It's going to cost me a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of time. I might not win. I might win. What could you say to people, if that, using that example, that company, they definitely was causing them reputational damage, and it was breach of their brand and their it was fraud. I mean, it was so many things that legally they had a really strong case. But what could you say to people to get them over that hump of, it's happening to you, take legal action?
Right. Unlike many other type of legal fields, when you deal with reputation, the objective of our clients is quite often, they just want to move on. Most of our clients are business people. We are business people. All my colleagues are people who work in business and understand how business work. We have many startup clients, and we understand that entrepreneurs just want to get on with it. They just want to do what they do best, work on the business, make it better, make it bigger, make things faster, add value. So they are not particularly interested in the litigation side or in the legal process. They just want to be able to get on with things. So the objective for us is to enable them to get on with it. So rather than having our focus on the litigation or on winning a legal case or a legal battle, or it's a matter of principle, our focus is actually on making the problem go away as quick as possible, as cost efficient as possible. Let them carry on, let them work on their business. We are on their side. We work with them because we want them to succeed. So it's just a different mindset on the part of our lawyers, that they look at things as business people rather than as professional litigators. And because we specialize in a very niche field, I've been doing this for nearly 25 years now. We have almost perfected our processes, so things aren't cost as much as they would if you went to another law firm that are not. Uh, they might not have done that type of case before, and they have to go through all the different hurdles and test this and try that, of course at your expense as a client. So and the other thing is, the truth of the matter is that in some cases we are not going to be able to help with the legal route, and we will say to the client, look, we don't think that you should be doing this, because if you are going to pursue this, the likelihood of having adverse consequences, for example, things will backfire on you, you will get bad PR, or whatever it might be, are quite high. So we will say this to our clients, and we will save them having to go through all the pain. So what we provide is the advice, the good advice, and our objective is for our clients to be able to continue working on their business.
So interesting you said that, because I'm always thinking to myself, how come Facebook gets away with it? How do they allow these fraudsters to continue to operate on their platform? Amazon, you know how many copycat sites there are selling other people's products and they don't exist? How does Amazon get away with it? Like, is there a class action suit waiting to happen here, or is there something that could be done on a bigger global scale to deal with these issues?
I happen to be involved in the Times newspaper's investigation into Amazon fake reviews a few years ago. So I was privy to all the legal documentation involved in that. So we know that there's a lot of fakery involved. We also know that from some of my colleagues that there are certain brands that are given access to Amazon shop, and with very specific software that enables them to identify fakes or unauthorized sellers, and those brands will do this independently of Amazon, and Amazon is quite happy to give them that access. Unfortunately, this type of service or privilege isn't available to the smaller sellers on Amazon or on Google or on eBay, which means they have to do it themselves. So I don't think that there is a deliberate sort of plan by Amazon or Facebook to allow those fakes to be sold on their platforms. But at the same time, I don't think they are doing enough to suppress that process. So generally speaking, those platforms will be quite helpful when we get involved and when we alert them to certain things that shouldn't be happening on the platform.
It's so interesting. It's fascinating to me that it can just keep happening again and again and again. And it's like you're right. You're dealing on a micro scale, but on a macro scale, there's a problem.
I will say, if there is a case of a repeated offender, or if the business believe there is a repeated, we dealt with a case where of an individual who was repeatedly faking a particular brand. It was shoes and handbags on that occasion. He was doing this repeatedly and almost on a commercial basis. And we went in and we managed to obtain identification details about him. And on that case, it was so bad, we passed on the information to the police, and he was prosecuted. He actually served time in jail for doing this. So some of those activities of selling, of creating, selling, marketing, and selling fakes could actually be criminal as well. But if it happens to you as a business, as a small or medium-sized business, yes, you can keep writing to Facebook or to Amazon and request this and request that. But it might be, again, in your interest to go in a little bit more deeply into the issue and say, look, I would like now to get some proper information, some proper data about whoever is doing this to me, find out who the person is, send them a clear message that you are now going after them. And the worst case scenario is they leave you alone. The best case scenario, you'll be able to track them down and hold them to account.
It's good advice. I mean, I'm part of a women's entrepreneur network called iWin, and there's 1,300, if I'm not mistaken, small business owners. These are hardworking women who've invented a product or created something, and they own their brand and they put it online and they do all the work themselves. They build their own internet shops and they on Etsy, and they're selling, and then someone comes along and steals their ideas and then starts marketing it on social media or on their own website or on Amazon. And it's heartbreaking. It's literally heartbreaking, It's taking their soul and their product and all their energy that they've put into their brand.
We've seen cases. I mean, there was one we dealt with recently. A young lady who created a brand herself, and somebody just came along and not just stole her brand exactly the way you mentioned, but they started bullying her as well, and effectively, were forcing her to close down her business because they were going to do this and that and the other. And so there are little things that they can do, and I do suggest they do from the outset. It is extremely important to register a trademark. We register trademarks for all sorts of businesses. Now, it doesn't cost a lot of money, but it needs to be done properly. And the registration of the trademark will give the business owner a lot of confidence about being able to safeguard their brand. So my advice is to register a trademark as a minimum, a trademark. There would be other type of intellectual property rights that might be costing a little bit more, but a trademark is a real essential. The other thing that you can do is when you create a product, when you have this invention, and you maybe have a design for it, not yet ready perhaps to register as a patent or trademark, speak to your lawyer. Make sure that you file copies of it with your lawyer. So send them copies of it so there is a permanent record of the fact that you have created it first. So that will give you a priority. So if later on somebody else comes along and say, hey, in fact, you are copying ours, you always be able to say, I actually have got those designs or trademarks or thoughts or notes or whenever it is to do with those inventions or creations. I have got them deposited with my lawyer, with my attorney, and I can produce it at any given time. We I want people to think about lawyers in a slightly different way, because a lawyer can actually help you, can safeguard you, can give you the support you need, and it is a long-term relationship, and it's something that you can always go back to and say, hey, remember me from 5 years ago, and we'll say, of course I do. So how can we help now? It is a very important relationship to have.
So it's interesting because that's related to physical products and brand and trademark and whatever. But let's take that argument into the internet world for a second, particularly in social media. I see all the time people, they've created an advert for their product and it looks like Game of Thrones. Or they've created an advert and they've used something that looks like the James Bond theme. Can they do that?
Right. Let's go back to the very basics, which is you cannot take words back. So once you say something, you create a permanent record of your words, of your thoughts, of your intentions. So if in doubt, don't do it. If you are not sure about a certain product, if it looks too much like somebody else's brand, if it is like, if you sell too close to the wind, then you are facing, you might be facing a huge risk. Now the risks are not only financial, but they are also reputational, because if there is a knock on your virtual or real door by someone who, say, a major brand who accuses you of breaching their intellectual property rights, that could cost you a lot of money to fix, and reputation wise, it could be a real disaster, because you could be branded as a thief, as someone who copied other people's ideas. Your own credibility could really be diminished. So speak to a brand expert, such as yourself, I would say, and if you need to speak to a lawyer, speak to a lawyer as well. If in doubt, don't do it. Wait, take advice, and then decide what to do next.
Okay. In the world of social media, when you load a video, for example, natively, which means you've taken the actual video and you load it up to your own social feed on LinkedIn, particularly, it performs better than if you use a YouTube link. So I see it all the time that people are like, well, that video is really cool and it's a cool video. That's it. It's just cool. But instead of linking
Water and
to
lemon, no Coca-Cola. Yeah, go
water
on.
is
Sorry.
cool, drink water. Instead of linking to, I'm trying to think of a good example, but instead of linking to the video on the person who created its YouTube channel, they've downloaded it, probably using some nefarious download tool, and then uploaded it as
It's theirs.
just an example. This is a good video. Now, what's actually happening, going back to that influence discussion, there's this new brand of influencer on LinkedIn. These people that post these very popular videos, and they get hundreds of thousands of people viewing them and liking them, but they don't own the video. It's not theirs. They're just reposting it.
Yeah.
And I look at that, and then I see people I know doing it. I'm always private messaging people and saying, don't do that. It doesn't belong to you. You can't use it. So there's this question. There's two questions here, I guess, for you, Yair. One is, the warning of don't do it, and to people, everyone out there, if you don't own it, don't use it. But also these influencers that build up their brand until they're getting paid to do what they're doing. They're essentially stealing to get there. It's opening up a big question mark.
Yeah, I think plagiarism is a big problem. I don't do it. Don't get involved, because there are people there out there who are so obsessed, with certain things, and in a good way sometimes, and they will look for copies, and they will look for people who are lying and for people who are cheating. There are a few of those people out there on YouTube, and I don't know how they do it, but they expose people who misuse other people's material. And I dealt with a number of those cases from the other side, unfortunately, of the people who did intentionally or perhaps unintentionally uploaded things that they shouldn't have uploaded. And and the damage to the reputation is often beyond repair. So if you get caught doing something like this, it's not worth it, really. I know there are people who are doing this, and I don't want to give I don't want to say expose them, go and expose them, because um, if you go and expose them, probably going to come to me and say, look, can you help us now? But let him know that perhaps you are aware of the practices. If the practice affects you, if they stole your video, if they misuse your material, then I would say take an uncompromising view of this. Approach them directly, not just via the platform, and see how they are going to deal with the situation once they know that you know what they are up to.
It's really fascinating. I could probably talk to you for another 3 years. Yeah, I've got a million questions floating around in my head. Have you got some interesting stories to tell us of things that you've dealt with in the past, maybe a lesson that you could teach us through a case study of something that you've dealt with?
The vast majority of the work that we do is fascinating, is very, very interesting. Quite often we do things for the very first time, so it's like never been done before. There are lots of funny cases. On one occasion, we were instructed to unravel the identity of someone who was doing things they shouldn't have done. And that led us to GoDaddy. GoDaddy is a registrar of domain names, and the name there was again proven to be useless, because obviously they fake the name when they purchase the domain name. But a few weeks later, GoDaddy came back to us and say, hey, we just found this audio recording of somebody phoning us asking for customer services. You might want to listen to that. So it was about a 2 or 3 minute recording of that individual phoning the customer services at GoDaddy. We had that, and the passcode was the first 4 digits of the date of birth of the person we suspected it was. And we managed to identify that individual in this way. On that case, the allegations were very serious, so we passed it on to the police. Police arrested him. Initially, he denied everything, and then they played the audio. They asked him about it, what is your date of birth? And he said whatever it is, and they played the audio to him, and he had to admit to what he had done. He ended up receiving a prison sentence for harassment. He was using different websites to harass one of his clients. He was a website designer who decided to harass one of his own clients. And that was one of the most interesting cases, I think, that
Wow.
we did recently. So there are plenty of them, but for
So
another time.
you're a lawyer and an investigative journalist. It's sounds interesting. Wow. It's funny. I forgot to mention at the beginning of this session, and I'd like to wrap up now because your time is precious, Yair, and I'm sure I can get you back on here for some more questions. But the way I got to you was I was reading. I mean, I read everything to do with social media. And in the BBC News last week, there was an article about how the things you write online can get you in jail, can get you put away. And the way you behave and the things that you do on social media can get you put away. And your colleague, Eva Bracha, was mentioned in that. So I used LinkedIn, and I reached out to her and I said, this fascinates me. I'd love to interview you. And she kindly introduced me to you, Yair. So, it really is, it's an interesting topic, and it's great that you're getting recognized in the BBC, and I'm glad I've had an opportunity to meet with you today as well.
Thank you, sir. I would like to ask you something, if it is okay. You deal with social media, marketing via social media. Um, can you just expand a little bit more about how you work with businesses, how you help businesses? What exactly are you doing for them?
So it's interesting because I can't admit everything I do because some of it's not allowed by some of the platforms. But we
Oh God.
we manage social media for brands, mainly B2B brands. So a company will come to us and they want us to take over their LinkedIn, their Facebook, their Twitter, their Instagram, and we create the content for them. We're also creating videos and images and infographics and anything to support them on social media. But we have to be really savvy because we can't Google an image, take it, and then put it on our client's social media. That could get them in trouble, but it could also get me in trouble. And it was one of the most interesting lessons I had to learn as a small business. I started off as a freelancer. I had one client, and then I had another client, and then I hired someone. And what was really interesting was at some point I got a really nice big client and they sent me their scope of work and their terms of conditions and everything to sign with them. And in there, it's like, well, what's your liability insurance? I'm like, what's liability insurance? So I called my insurance company. I'm like, I have to take out liability insurance to the value of $1 million. And they're like, but why? And I said, because I'm taking data from my client. If we're running paid campaigns and using their database to run a paid campaign and do a like audience on Facebook, I'm holding their data. And I need insurance because if I get hacked and all that data gets out, or if I haven't protected that data properly, I could be liable. So I ended up needing to take $1 million liability insurance policy. Now, I know there are a lot of other freelancers out there who are probably not insured. So there's so many facets to the business and what we do,
Oh, oh,
but at the end of the day, we are, as you do the legal side of reputation management, we do the brand side of reputation management. We will put your brand out on social media. We're looking to get you visibility, but really build you credibility, and not to steal other people's things, and not to copy brands, and to make you credible.
because if you get something wrong, it could really backfire on your clients, right? So it is important that, I suppose, that you know what you are doing in terms of what you can do from a legal point of view, but also what you mentioned now about the insurance, that you can never know if something does go wrong. You are insured, so just you will be able to deal with whenever eventuality. I think that's really important.
It's so important. And it's something I didn't know about. And I think it comes back to right at the beginning. I asked you what the biggest challenge is. Is it that people don't know enough, or is it that they don't care enough? I think that there is a bit of both of that, as well as your uncertainty. They don't know, or they don't care. Oh, I'm just going to use it. It doesn't really matter. Or there's that uncertainty, as you say, and it's a big challenge that people have. And you know what I think, Yair? I don't think there are enough people talking about it, which is why I was so excited to have you here today, because you don't read enough about it. There's not enough out there to let people understand what they can and they can't do.
So what is the best way to get in touch with you, Zoe, if somebody is listening to this podcast, and they want to learn a bit more on how you can help them with the social media in a safe way? So how do they get in touch with you? What do they need to know?
Definitely LinkedIn, through LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
And you know what? That's how I got in touch with you. I think LinkedIn can open up the world to everybody. But and I'm not getting paid for that. I'm not being endorsed to say that, but it is my business. So there you go. But yeah, Ira, I really appreciate your time. It's been
My pleasure.
fascinating. Really, really enjoyed this. And I hope I can have you again. Next time I'm gonna see if we can get some questions from the audience and come back with maybe one or two more specific cases that we can dig into and find out a bit more about the legalities for those.
You certainly will. Thank you very much for organizing this and for having this great conversation, really.
Amazing. Thank you, Yair.